Hey there, welcome to the data cleaning step. Go ahead and open 911.csv in Excel. And the very first thing that we want to do whenever we're doing data cleaning is to just look at the data. We don't have to look at all of the data. We can just sort of scrub through the first 20, 50, maybe 100 rows and just get a visual sense of what's going on here. We can identify if we are missing data. Maybe some of the columns don't look kind of right. Maybe there's some tricky things that we'll notice. Maybe there's some cells that are empty, so there's some data points that are missing. Look for inconsistencies in formatting, that kind of thing. That's the very first thing we want to do, is just try to identify the problem children, so to speak. Now, this step here, the data cleaning step, is really critical. It's really important that we get this right. And very often, we data analysts and data scientists will spend more time doing the data cleaning than they do doing the data analysis. Sometimes things can get a little hairy. Hopefully, we can get it all set up and it looks pretty great. But what we're looking for in an ideal world is consistency in each column, and every row is unique. The first thing to notice here is that there's an ID column, and the ID column is unique for each one of the rows, and that's very, very important, because what we can do is count the unique IDs that exist, and then we'll get a count of all the things that are there. And counting the unique IDs ensures that we are not accidentally duplicating. If we counted, say, addresses, then we may not be getting an accurate count because one of these addresses may have occurred twice. The next thing to note is latitude and longitude. Now, we don't need these because Excel does not handle latitude and longitude very well. So I'm going to hold Shift and select both of these items here and go ahead and delete them. Now we have our new column B, which is DESC. That's short for description. And I'm going to stretch that out by grabbing the handle on the side so we can get a good look at what's going on in description. Aha. And we see a couple of things. It contains the cross street. It contains a station number. It contains a timestamp. It contains township. There's quite a few things in here, and they're all separated by the semicolon. Okay, that's interesting. So this is what we call a concatenation. This is a list that is concatenated together with a semicolon, and the semicolon can be treated as a delimiter, which would allow us to split this one column into multiple columns. So if something in the other columns, let's say we're missing something, then what we may be able to do is get it from here. We may be able to extract it from here. All right, next we have zip code. And here's a potential problem child. And notice that the zip code doesn't populate in all of them. Some of these are missing zip codes. That's interesting. And we may want to talk to dispatch about that to see what is going on. Okay, and that's followed by title. And title, again, looks like a concatenation of a call type, let's say EMS, fire, and traffic, and then also what you might characterize as the code description, or the description of the call, the type of call that it is. These would be things like ground level falls and cardiac arrests and that sort of thing. So that's very interesting. And again, here we have a colon rather than a semicolon that separates these two things. So like the description field, we can use this colon to separate these two things if we don't have EMS and traffic and fire as a field on its own. And so far, it looks like we do not. We'll want to have those two things separated out so we can start to look at the call types individually. Okay, next we have a timestamp, and notice that the timestamp is not in the format that we would want. Remember, the format that is ideal is year, month, day, and then hour, minutes, and seconds. Here we have it in just this truncated, human-readable format. That's easily fixed. It's not a huge deal right now because Excel can understand this format from other formats, but just to know moving forward, if we are dealing with SQL, or we're doing any programming with SQL or Python or something, we'll want to have it in the correct format. Okay, and this is followed by township. Township looks like township is fully populated. Doesn't look like any problems there. That's good. Then we have address. So some of this stuff here, again, what we have is in this description field, we see is popping up along in the rest of the fields. We have the date and the township and the address. This E field is actually entirely unnecessary. So this E field is just an automatically generated field by the system that these townships are using, and we can just go ahead and delete that. It is not particularly useful. Okay, we've identified a couple of things already. First, we want to separate out the title column from the call type to the call code, I suppose we can call it. So EMS, traffic, and fire in one column on its own, and then the type of call in its own column. The next thing we want to do is get the station ID out of the description field and get that into its own column. Then we'll break up the timestamp into date and time, and then year, month, day, hour, minute, seconds, and then also the day part as well, and the day of the week, because that way we'll be able to see if there are maybe hotspots when let's say there's a higher likelihood of call volumes happening. Let's get started.